So next up we have a presentation from one of our sponsors. We're so appreciative, Knit. Liz Miller, who is the Global Client Director at Knit, with one of her clients, Dorothy White, Shopper Insights at McCormick. They are going to be speaking about the modern value equation, loyalty, trade-offs, and trust. Please come. The computer is right up here for you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Oops, sorry. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. What a full house. We assumed everyone was going to have a crazy night last night, and who knew what the crowd would look like. So really appreciate you all being here. Spoiler alert, we are going to incorporate some AI, so thank you for still being here. We're going to dig into the modern value equation today. We're going to talk about the trade-offs that consumers are having to make, especially during what is a pretty difficult economic time for a lot of households. So I'm Liz Miller. I'm Global Client Director at Knit. Live in Chicago, work with a lot of our wonderful clients here at Knit. Dorothy, would love to have you introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Dorothy White. I work in Shopper Insights at McCormick. I've been in Shopper Insights for an embarrassingly long amount of time, so kind of like Mary Beth, I'm a sucker for creating new things, so love it. We're pretty new at McCormick, and we're super excited to find it and help us on this journey.
Yeah, it's been a really exciting partnership so far. We've done some great work together, and we're excited to share some of that with you today. Everyone knows and loves McCormick. They have an amazing portfolio of spices and seasonings. You may not realize how many of your favorite condiment brands they also own. Cholula, Frank's Red Hot, French's, a lot of the products in your fridge and your pantry are coming to market through McCormick and are being delivered in really exciting ways. Lots of innovation happening through this business. So Knit supports many of the world's best brands, including those shown here. If you're not familiar with Knit, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do before we get into the findings. We are the AI native research agency. And so what that means is we took all the best parts of working with a research agency, the expertise, the rigor, the trust, and we have used AI to make parts of this process much more cost effective and really, really increase speed without having to sacrifice quality and rigor. So we believe we've brought together the best of both worlds, and our clients tend to think so too. What we're going to do today right now, just as we get into the next phase here, want to talk a little bit about how we do this research and how we enabled some of this work before we get into some of the findings, which are really interesting. So when we talk about being an AI native research agency, what this means is we believe in researcher-driven AI. So we really stand by the idea that there are certain things that humans need to be delivering in the research process. That includes, expertise, strategy, vision for how insights will be applied and used. So we have AI handling execution, things that can be sped up, things that can be kind of enhanced using the things that AI is best at. But this really means a process where we are taking all of your business context, we're taking your standards, we're taking your ideals, the way that you find that information is best shared across your organization effectively. We're using that as context for all of the work that we do together. You bring us researcher ideas, you bring us ideas for insights that you'd like to learn more about, and then our AI is running the execution with researcher oversight and judgment. We think that judgment and expertise is key, and it also feeds into the experience that you have as a client. So you're having that full service agency interaction and experience, but you're having the benefits of these efficiencies. And the outcome is you're getting decision-ready insights that are way faster than a traditional agency could support. There's also substantial rigor around this research beyond what a lot of AI tools alone can provide. And the outcome is we're able to find new ways of working. We're able to run research with clients that they couldn't have afforded to or wouldn't have the bandwidth to have run before. And so we can do a lot more together. So I'm going to ask Dorothy to talk a little bit about why McCormick Shopper Insights chose to work with our team.
So I could get a trip to DC.
It's a bonus.
And I saw Amsterdam on the screen.
Yeah,
so
we're talking about it.
We're going to talk about that. No, all kidding aside, we are, a relatively new function at McCormick, and we are a small but mighty team made up of about 1.5 people. And so looking to scale, and probably everybody in this room has been in Insights long enough and looked at a lot of different tools and worked with a lot of different tools. And so we got a green light to really kind of scale up kind of how much research we were doing, with, as usual, the same number of people. And so I had talked to a few, and I will say for any of the vendors in here, one of the things how I found Knit was through a colleague that works at a very large retailer in their insights department, and she had many, many good things to say about Knit. Because a lot of times you try things and there's pros and cons to them, and so that is how I kind of started engaging with Knit, as they came very highly recommended. And as we looked at what they were offering, it really was this nice marriage of true researchers. We're all research geeks at heart, and so like true good high quality research technology and platforms that underlie it, but then the technology. So I just thought the model made a lot of sense in terms of getting kind of the best of both worlds in a way to start leveraging AI without sacrificing that rigor. So
yeah,
and they enable the scale, so we don't have to constantly go get POs and all that stuff. So very seamless, and they listened. We went back and forth quite a bit on here's very specifically what we need to meet our retailer and shopper needs, and they made it happen. So.
Making it happen. Love it. Yeah, I think, it's been a wonderful partnership so far, and this is an example of the type of work that we're able to bring out, quite quickly. So in this particular study, we had 530 total respondents. A subset of 100 folks completed a video qualitative portion of that study. Oftentimes at Knit, we are able to turn studies around in a week or less. This one, we were, taking some time and doing some interesting fielding with the video. We had about an 8-day end-to-end turnaround. I have had as quick as a 4-day turnaround, even over a weekend, although my beloved research team would prefer that we don't do that every time. Depends on what we're doing. So as we were talking about the themes that have emerged so far in our partnership, Dorothy and I were kind of thinking about some of those through lines that span the work that we've done together, and what are those challenges that brands and retailers are really grappling with that span categories, that span channels. And Dorothy brought up this idea of the modern value equation as this kind of unspoken through line. The consumer is in such a difficult spot for so many households, like I mentioned, and so how are they grappling with those trade-offs that they need to make? Dorothy, can you talk a little bit more about the modern value equation? What do you mean by that, and how should people be thinking about it?
Sure. Well, I would say, as I've been thinking about this, modern might be a little bit of the wrong word, because this is a value equation that I have seen over and over and over with shoppers, be it here, be it in other countries, be it a dollar channel shopper, be it a high-end, Target shopper, et cetera. It's really about a framework that helps us guide what is going to win a retailer a trip, what is costing them trips, and it's just a framework that we kind of lay that measurement and that strategy against. And it's so consistent, like what that framework is, this equation of it's not just price, it's convenience, it's reliability, it's experience, and then price kind of lays underneath that for sure. But it's that framework that we have used over and over because it is so fundamental to shopper psychology and shopper behavior, and it really plays nicely into a translation to real actionable items and actions.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the data here. I think you'll find this to be as interesting as we did. So first of all, to Dorothy's point, the data was consistent that price is not the whole story for shoppers making choices today. 64% of our respondents named something other than low price as their single most important value driver, which we thought was pretty interesting. I think also, to look at these results, everyday low prices is the top result. It's 36% of respondents. But then when you look at the breakdown here, what you'll see is that there's no clear second place. There's no clear second winner. And what this means is that consumer value equation is nuanced and specific households and individuals are going to have different things that they're prioritizing at different phases of their life, also depending kind of on the status of their budget. So yes, price is important. To Dorothy's point, it's kind of across the board, it is important, but there's these other factors like trust, like reliability, that also are super important. So in shoppers' own words, value isn't just about paying less, it's about shopping with confidence and knowing that you're gonna leave the store with what you expected, be able to bring back what your family needs. I thought these were some really interesting points that we saw from our qualitative research. So this is looking at these stats, these are the top qualitative themes that emerged.
Yeah. Are you gonna play a video?
Yeah, let's get into a couple short video clips here, kind of describing some of those themes. Oh, let me see if it should play. All right, we may not have the videos. We'll send it as a follow-up. But what we heard from these consumers is that they really want to be able to have that dependability, reliability, the third point here, that when they go to the store, they will be able to get exactly what they're expecting to get. If they're expecting to be able to shop their whole list, they really want that expectation to be fulfilled. And also they want to feel kind of a sense of pride, like my fridge is stocked, my pantry is full. This is what my family expected, and now my family is thrilled to have this full fridge and pantry available. So let's talk a little bit about value. So since value is nuanced, value is complex, how can brands and retailers actually compete on this point? So we love this one. This was so fascinating. The headline is real here. Store brand switching is not the default behavior to save, even when budgets are constrained. So these numbers here indicate the percent from each group: expanding budget, stable budget, constrained budget, of who switched to the store brand in the past 3 months to save money. This is lower than I thought it would be. I don't know if anybody agrees. This is a lot lower than I thought it would be, especially for that constrained budget shopper. We were talking about how interesting it is that there's really not a ton of variation across these groups. We would have thought that there were some really bigger differences, and it actually turned out to be pretty consistent. Thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, no, and I think this and the previous points help to illustrate that hierarchy, that framework of, I don't want to feel dumb. Even if you're the cheapest, if you don't meet these other needs, you're not going to win my trip. You're not going to win my loyalty. And this is a great brand example. I used to work at Kraft, and like the blue box stories will have you in tears. So this is this one was a good reminder of there are just places the shoppers do not want to compromise, and we need to make sure we're helping our brands and our retailers not force them into that compromise, because that, I have seen that just destroy the loyalty, destroy the affinity to a retailer. It's like, you're making me feel dumb for getting what I actually want to get. So I'm going to start looking for a different solution. Mm-hmm. So
we saw fascinating differences across categories too, in terms of the willingness to be open to a substitution. So a willingness to buy cheaper alternatives, there's this understanding of like, where is there high flexibility because there's a low failure cost versus low flexibility because there's a high failure cost. So where does it really matter if I get a product that doesn't work as well as my go-to? And so these kind of reddish orange columns show pantry staples, snacks and packaged goods, dairy and eggs, bread and bakery. These were areas where there was a relatively low perceived failure cost, so people were more open to flexible choices. On the low flexibility side, so the dark green bars there, what we saw was that personal care, produce, family-specific items like cat food or diapers or formula, things that not every family needs, but if you need them, you need them. Fresh meat, this is where there's a really high perceived failure cost, and so people are a lot less likely to switch. And that gap is almost 3x between most flexible and least flexible categories. So you have the same shopper considering the same purchase decisions across different categories, and there's different stakes at play depending on the category. So shoppers protect brands where failure is costly, not necessarily where they feel attached, but where they can't bring themselves to take that bigger, chunkier risk. So there's a lot of reasons up here for why they might be averse to taking that risk. I think, tried cheaper and the quality was worse. The taste or performance gap was too big. These are a couple of the big ones we saw. I thought this cat food example was fascinating. Really, I think it's an aversion to wasting.
I mean, I think that the can't afford failure, and this has gotten a lot of discussion over the years, particularly with the low-income households. And for a while, the presumption that, the cheapest, and private label and store brands and all that. And it's not to say they don't have to make those trade-offs, but that cost of failure is a very poignant insight in terms of, if my kid's shirt gets ruined with a stain, I can't just go buy my kid another shirt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to buy the one I think is going to work the best. And so I think this also, it's not really in here because of time, but we did a lot of segmentation within this as well. So obviously knowing who your shopper is, who your consumer is underlies all this, because these are broad, very good quantitative findings, but I was looking at some of this stuff this morning, and we looked at emerging shoppers and we looked at experienced shoppers and see some differences there as well in terms of, based on life stage, they might be making different trade-offs. Things are important to different groups. So obviously that kind of lays under this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to be sure to touch on channels as well, because where people shop is also just so important. So we'll go through this a little bit quickly, but happy to have follow-up conversations just, for the sake of time. What we saw is that channel becomes a tool, not just the destination. And there is a really key insight between this slide and the next slide, and I'm hoping that somehow this video will play, but we'll see. So what we saw is that when people are making decisions about, if they're going to split their trips across multiple stores to try to get the best deals, where are they going to splurge on maybe something like delivery for convenience? 66% are intentionally shopping specific retailers for certain categories to get the best quality, the best selection, or the best prices. Alongside that, 40% are shopping online for convenience, and they're agreeing that they're happy to pay more for delivery if it means saving meaningful time. Huge point here. This is even true among budget-constrained shoppers for reasons like, they don't have the same childcare available to go run to the store an extra time. They're working multiple jobs, so time is really precious. Let's see if this video plays. I don't think it's going to. Okay, well, the follow-up point here is about understanding the nuance of these trade-offs. So what is the point where the cost savings is significant enough that it's worth it to go to that second or third store? What is the point where the time savings is enough that you'll pay for delivery for your groceries, even though there is a monetary cost? So here's a couple of the findings that we saw. 72% would drive to a second store to save $25 or $30 on groceries. That's a significant enough amount of money that it's worth it to go to that second store. Getting the most for their money for this group is worth it, even if it costs time. On the other side of that, 43% would pay a delivery fee to avoid a 45-minute round trip. So in this case, that is enough time that getting their time back is worth it, even if it costs more. So to your point about segmentation, this is going to be different depending on the particular group. I'm going to jump into our final kind of bottom line findings here, and then hopefully we have a minute for questions. Sorry for the rush on these last few slides, but these are really the takeaways we'd encourage you to think about and bring back to your teams and ponder with us. So the first one is, brands optimizing for price alone are solving for yesterday's shopper. This does not relate and is just not the answer to solving the current economic crisis that many households are feeling. The second point is, even budget-constrained shoppers factor convenience and loyalty into their equation. So again, this is more nuanced than just, I'm budget-constrained, how do I have the least amount of cost in my bill? You've made a great comment about this. Like if cost was number one,
yeah, nobody'd be in here right now.
Yeah, we would all be out of jobs. We'd all be buying like brandless canned beans and rice only.
Right. Yeah.
And then the last piece here is the short-term price benefit rarely offsets this sense of compromise. So if you feel like you're really experiencing a loss and you're taking this big risk, it is oftentimes not worth it for shoppers to then take that risk. thank you all so much. You know, this was research that was driven by humans and AI together. So researchers did this with better tools, and that's how we were able to do it so well and so fast. If you're interested in learning more today, we are at booth 4. Come say hi to the Knit crew. Thank you so much, Dorothy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
So I want to just ask those, because great job. Keep the questions coming. One more thing, guys. There's a ton of empty seats. Raise your hand if you have an empty seat. Come sit. That way you can just relax. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
When was this research run? If you could tell us, there's 3 questions in this. Before or after the recent petrol or gas increases? And if before, how often, Dorothy, are you thinking about running this kind of study to learn about the trade-off and to understand that shifting?
Yeah, this was run just in the last few weeks.
Yeah, this was run about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So very, very current. And to kind of potentially to that point, having worked with this kind of structure over many years, that's part of why I wanted to take advantage of this, is like, is it still true?
How often are you thinking about running this?
That's a great question.
I don't think we have a cadence mapped out.
We don't have a cadence mapped, I would think. Honestly, you got to kind of look at this crazy dynamic marketplace, and I might have said a while back once a year, but it might be more than that given
Maybe
everything that's
quarterly,
going on.
something like
Great.
that.
And then my last question, because I know we're over time, but how do you ensure AI moderated interviews are properly probing respondents to gain insights?
Yeah, so we treat AI moderation as a question type, not as a study type. So it's not an extended 30-minute IDI. It's a question type with up to 5 probes per question. We include detailed scoping walls, I would say, about what the AI should and should not be probing on. And we have stress tested this extensively, which is why it's actually a pretty new service for us, because we spent a lot of time in development and testing. And I would just say, happy to show some more examples of what that can look like. If you want to swing by the booth, we can chat about it. But we have actually found really high data quality from AI probing using this question type approach and having it integrated into a wider quant study or other qual.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you all so much.
Big round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Sorry the videos don't work.
That's okay.
But we imagine them.
Yeah, imagine the videos.
So I'm going to come in here. We're doing this big reveal. Oh, good. I was going to do. Come on up. Oh, just start. We got this. The Insight Innovation. So Karen's going to come back up with the team, and they have